One, two, three, four.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Breakfast with Brothers. How's everyone doing today? How's everyone feeling? How's everyone doing?
What's up, breakfast people? Lunch and dinner people too, I guess, but mostly breakfast people.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Brunch and dinner too.
And
I
fourth
guess we
meal.
gotta, shout out those people.
Shout out those people. Shout out them.
Because we are coming at you today with hot information on beer. All of our favorites, everything we've tried, even some stuff off the collar that branches left towards hard ciders and branches right towards seltzers. They've been changing the game, the seltzers.
They are. They have been. There's a couple that I really do enjoy. And, I'm not a huge fan of seltzers, but, we'll get into that discussion here shortly. So I guess, do we want to start with, favorites here? Like, what we're thinking, as in,
Yeah,
like,
what do
we
you
like to
got? We
drink?
can enter with favorites, and then we could start, crapping on other beers or stuff we don't like. Unpopular opinions.
Well, personally, I like a heavier beer. So anyone who drinks any cheap beer, we'll just start with some cheap beer. That's good beer. First thing that comes to
What's
mind.
your favorite? Your favorite of all time. Forget starting somewhere. What is your favorite?
Favorite of all time. For beer, it'd have to be. It's a tie between Guinness and Yingling. And only because I
Classic
can only
Ying.
have Guinness at certain times. You know what I mean?
Like as far as what do you mean? Like during a meal type thing, or you can't drink it because it's heavy, and if you have a big meal, there's no way you're getting down a Guinness type thing.
Yeah, no, if I just ate some food and everyone's going out to the bars, I'm not going to get a Guinness because it's just not going to sit well. It's
it won't.
going to hit my stomach and then I'm not going to be able to drink anything else. Some people can. I personally cannot. I love Guinness, but I just cannot put it back as easy. But Yingling is also kind of a heavy beer, but that I can put back a little bit easier, even if I have food in my stomach or it's empty.
Yeah, I mean Yingling's just above that step of the light beer sagas. The Bushes, the Budweisers, the Millers, all that stuff. I feel like Yingling's just that little step above.
Yeah, dude, Yingling's good. It's a lot of people don't like heavier beers, and like you said, Yingling isn't too heavy. Everyone's always going light this, light that. Personally, I like a heavier beer to begin with, and Yingling's not too heavy, but it's heavy enough where it's okay, I can still drink a lot of it, and have a good time with it, but I can also just have a couple of them and still feel pretty good. Same with Guinness.
That's exactly it, man. Yingling is the perfect lager because it's not a stout and it's not like a pale ale or a an amber ale, something light. It's a nice middle ground. But I like it too. I mean, it's not my favorite on my list as far as that goes, but I love drinking Yingling.
All right, so what's your favorite beer then? Since we just sat with that.
100% Modelo, the king of all pilsners, at least in my book. Only because a good lime with it, cold day, just every time you drink it, you imagine yourself sitting on a beach. Game changer.
Dude, yeah, I will say the lime really makes the Dello,
I mean, it's
And,
kind of it's basically taking a Corona and throwing it the other way because it is a Mexican beer. So I'm not a huge fan of Corona, but if there is if I'm going to a bar and I'm having a lunch or something like that, or you're eating outdoors or something, and it's a hot day, Corona and lime, if they don't have Modelo, it's just as nice. But for me, preference wise, if I was going to the store buying them, Modelo every day of the week.
Shout out Modelo for actually
Shout
still
out.
for still being brewed in Mexico, unlike Corona. That's why I don't drink Corona.
Big
Lewis has been telling me to never look at Corona again because they don't brew in Mexico anymore. Just kind
Yeah,
of lame.
I can't remember the last time I was buying Corona. Like if I'm at a bar, like if I'm at a bar, the one big one that we would go to a lot was Alex's, where we had a mug, so we were buying like the cheaper beer. But if I'm going to a bar with no mug, it's like my first or second time there, whatever. If I'm not doing like mixed drinks or liquor, I'll get something out of a can. Like Narragansett is a really good one.
Yeah.
Another one that is popular is the Yingling that we were already talking about. I'm never really getting Bud Light or Budweiser over the bar. um, Even if it's not that, it's just a pint of one of their things on draft. Sometimes it'll be like Lion's Head or um, I think there's some type of like Hefeweizen or Huffeweizen or whatever. There's a brand of that that's pretty good. But I don't know. Are you the type of guy that gets a can when you go to the bar, or do you get draft if you're drinking beer?
I'm pretty much, I'm good with whatever. Personally, I'm also a fan of PBR. Love PBR
Shout
to
out.
death.
PBR is
Um,
awesome.
So we have this bar over here, BJ's. Shout out BJ's. Um, they have PBR on draft, and they have cans, and sometimes they have bottles.
Nice.
Personally, if I can, I would rather take a bottle when I'm out at a bar.
Yep.
But I don't mind a can. If they got cans, cool, whatever. Most of their deals, though, over there is usually like on draft. So like I'll get it in a pint glass, and it's still just as good. Like unless they haven't cleaned out their lines in a
Yeah.
bit, but it's not like it's which could be lethal, but it's not like a major difference with like PBR at least. PBR I find is a pretty straightforward beer, so it's not like it's gonna taste like terrible or bad. We got to take another time out for this man over here. All right, give us 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Zach is back here, live,
What's up?
coming at you.
But yeah, you were talking about BJ's PBR bottle, way
Oh,
better.
yeah. I personally don't have a preference. I do enjoy a bottle. Like it's easy to hold. I don't have to worry about, like if I just like, I don't know. I don't mind a bottle. A can's fine too for me. Personally, sometimes if it's like a packed bar, I don't really want like a cup walking around. Like cans and bottles are so much easier to hold, especially if you're in a packed bar. Around here, it's not really much of an issue, so it's not like any of them really make a difference.
I will agree. I mean, and that's the thing too with some bars, they'll have like a bottle deal, like buy one get one for half or something like that, or Thursday nights, like $2 bottles or something like that. And if it ends up that way, then I'm buying whatever's on. If it's a good beer, sometimes if it's like they'll have Natural Light or something like Keystone Ice in a can or something like that. Usually that I'll avoid. I'm not really drinking that very often for for deals.
Pistone
But
Light.
I know most everywhere bottles are pretty cheap. I know the most expensive I think I've paid for a bottle somewhere was like $6, and then the cheapest was like $1.50, $2. So
Yeah, no, I mean it's like it's all ranged on the price. Like I'm not gonna
Yeah.
get a bottle if it's gonna cost me $8-9 unless they only have bottles of that variety for whatever reason. They don't have it on draft or something. Which is fine. Like if I need to do it, I need to do it, but I'm only getting one of them.
right,
But
and that's
yeah,
the
I
thing
know.
too. You were saying?
No, go ahead. I got
I
nothing.
was gonna say that's the thing too. Like going out to the bar. I mean, obviously you're mostly avoiding the use of bumping into people with a cup. If it's a empty bar, there's not a lot going on. That's when I'm getting like a mixed drink, playing at the pool table, with the cup just floating around the shelves or the bar tables or whatever. And usually that works out to, if you're trying to get drunker faster, drinking, 2, 3 mixed drinks versus a 6 pack, of bottles. If you end up going through that, that's a thing too. So
Yeah, I mean that's true. I mean, like, you get, I always think of the saying, liquor before beer, you're in the clear, but beer before liquor, never been sicker. So it's like, yeah, I'm gonna have a couple of like mixed drinks before if I start directly at the bar.
right,
I'm gonna have like one or two double shotters or something.
Mm.
But not always for me. Sometimes I just start with beer when I get there.
Yeah,
But
right.
Majority of the time, it's like, you pregame before, you have a couple of beers before you go out, so you don't have to pay for that much.
For
The
sure.
ones that have been sitting in the back of the fridge for 8 months.
Those are the best beers. But okay, now that we were talking about our preferences at the bar, question for you: what is your least favorite beer and why?
Least favorite beer? I've never liked. There's a buddy I had in college. He used to drink Jenny Cream ales.
Jenny Cream.
Oh man, dude.
Don't shit on
some
Jenny
people,
Cream. Jenny Cream's not bad, man.
I don't know if it was just like the beer that I had that day or like the can of beer that I had that day, but man, it just like I started like like chugging it back for whatever we were doing, and I just immediately like felt sick, and I was like, so I'd never touch Jenny Cream ales ever again. Nothing against Jenny Creams. I know a lot of people like them.
Yeah, right.
But I am not a fan of them at all. I don't know if it was the cream ale or just the whatever, but Jenny's, keep them away. I'm good. I'm good off of those.
Yeah, I don't know. The first time I had Jenny Cream, it was a little off-putting, but they weren't bad. Not to the point where I was feeling sick when I was drinking it. I will say it's not something I would choose if I was going out to buy, the cheaper beers or whatever. But
Oh, yeah.
if it's sitting around, it's cold, and where, that's all we got. Like I'm at a buddy's place, I forgot beer. He's got Jenny Cream. I don't think I'd say no. I think I'd be like, yeah, all right, send it.
Listen, I'd give it another shot. But the likelihood of me encountering someone that actually has Jenny Creams just chilling in their fridge is very low.
No doubt. But it's one of those beers, and that's the same goes for all the light beers. Not that they all taste the same, like they all are a little different in their own way, but they all come across mostly the same. They're not like super hoppy. They're pretty. Not the word isn't tasteless, but it's like you just have
Flat.
that distinct beer flavor. Some will say like Bud Light, Budweiser, Coors. It's just
Bush.
just piss water is what a lot of people will run, and that's because they're drinking. Their go-to's IPA. Like for me, I'm not a huge IPA fan. There's a couple off the shelf that I'll drink that I actually like the flavor of, but a lot of them that I have tried, I'm not a huge fan of. They're just a little too many, too flavorful, I will say, in like the worst way. Because when you're talking about beer, it's like very hoppy, and the way it comes across, like the difference between an ale, a lager, and a stout, for example. They're all very different how they come across, how they hit your palate, aftertaste, and that's huge. And it's just one of those things where IPA just sits in the realm of, ooh, my tongue no likey. Moving on. And that I'm the
I
same
do
way
like
with stouts.
IPAs.
What?
I was gonna say I do like some IPAs, but I can understand why you don't like an IPA. You know what I mean? They're kind of hard to like, I don't know, gauge. Like what's going to be good. They just have some wild names. Like I've had a couple of IPAs that I just did not like.
The hazier the IPA, the extra like bitter flavor you get from it, and those are the ones I usually stay away from.
Yeah. No, I mean it's like, I don't know if it's considered an IPA in any standard. Maybe a different type of setup, but I know Pacifico is very good. It might be more of like along the side of like Modelo and Corona, but so I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me. But I do like Fat Tire. I do like Magic Hat. Those are two very good IPAs. I believe they're IPAs.
Yeah. Flower Power's not bad. TJ put me onto that.
There's Lagunitas. Those are very good.
I've tried those. Those aren't bad.
And there's a bunch of others. I mean, you just have to kind of just go out and try them, get a 6-pack, and hope for the best.
You know what? I think Blue Point might have been an IPA. Remember the last time I had it was Pinstripe, but their big logo is an anchor. Blue Point, I think, is like a lighter IPA, and that one's pretty good. But again, it's
dude,
just a couple off the shelf where it's just like, yeah, this is good. And then the other couple that you start trying, go down the line, you're like, oh God, where did I go wrong? And that's the thing too, percentage comes into play. Once you start getting higher percentages, that's when I'm starting to enter territory where I 50-50 chance I'm not going to like it. Because it's just either it's going to be too hazy, or the hop is it just comes off too bitter, because it's very hoppy, or it's something that it comes too close to being a stout. And stouts for me are just a big no-no, because the aftertaste on a stout it just hits me in the face, and it's like this weird nasty flavor.
Yeah, no, there's a beer that I just remembered that I wanted to throw in the chat because it's very good, and a buddy of mine, McLean, really, he drinks a lot of it as well. It's called Red Stripe. It's a Jamaican lager.
Nice.
Delicious.
I've had Red Stripe.
It's a great beer. Yeah, great beer, a great lager, and you would think like, oh, maybe it's going to be a little heavy. No, not at all. None in the slightest. It goes down smooth. It tastes good, like for a beer.
Yeah.
I know, for some people, taste isn't really too much of an important deal when they're drinking like, Bud Light or Budweiser and Busch Latte every single day of their lives. Yeah. But it's a little bit more expensive, but definitely good taste for a beer. Love Red Stripe. But as for IPAs, it's hit or miss. Personally, if I was to choose something a little bit more special and a little bit, different, I would shoot for a sour. I actually really do enjoy sours.
Sours are pretty good.
Couldn't tell you any names. I've just had a bunch of different ones in the past year or so. And they've really started growing on me. I've just gotten different ones every single time wherever I went to a brewery or just picking something up.
Yeah, right.
And they've been pretty good to me. I like sours. I enjoy them.
Yeah, I had one that I got to try out of a box that I got as a gift. It was two not a pint. I don't even know how to describe it. The water pitchers that they have the little knockoff cap and stuff like that.
Yeah, the
little
little metal cap that slides off with the stopper up on top. Yeah,
it's that kind of bottle, and it was obviously black and just like a normal beer bottle. And there was 2 bottles that came once a month. I got it 3 months in a row, and this last time I got a sour, and the make is called Petrus. Petrus, and I'm pretty sure it's I think they labeled it as a Belgium pale ale, and it's oddly sour. It's almost it could enter the sweetness category of a cider, a really sweet cider, just because of how sour it is. I don't know how to describe it. It's if you're eating a warhead, the first hit is sour. And obviously sweetness, there's not really sweetness in a beer like a seltzer, but that sourness that you get on your initial take is how the sip goes. It hits you right away, and then it's just a normal beer. It's very odd, but it's pretty good.
I was gonna say, this is the one that you had me try as well, right?
No, that was a different one. I can't remember what the name of that one was. That was okay. That was a red ale. That wasn't bad.
I was gonna say that was still good though. That tasted a lot like a sour too. It had that very abrupt bitterness right at the beginning.
Yeah, it might have been. It might have been.
But yeah, no, I'm a huge fan of sours. I can't drink them heavy. I had a buddy that used to just bring them to parties, and he would drink 3 or 4. I have no idea how he did it. I don't know how his mouth felt afterwards, because his mouth must have been burning.
Lips just drying up.
Yeah, I mean, they're great. They're great. They're delicious. I personally like sour things to begin with.
Yeah,
but I couldn't drink them back to back without having to take a break for an hour and a half afterwards. They're pretty most of them are kind of thick too. Depending on what flavor you kind of chose with it. Some of them go down a little easier. They're a little bit lighter. But a majority of the time it's the bitterness and the sour like really kind of takes over everything with it. So it's hard to like continuously drink.
Yeah, I will say I don't know if I would put it down like I would a light beer like that. I think if he's
Yeah.
doing it, like that's off to him. I'd probably get sick. But that's the thing. Like I could do that with like Modelo and the light beers, Yingling, I guess. But then if I'm drinking like the Blue Point stuff, those lighter IPAs, Pacifico, I don't know, probably six max, and then after that, it's getting too heavy. And that's the thing. Like once you get like higher percentages, the good thing is you drink less if you're trying to get drunk. But the other good thing is if you're just trying to have a casual beer or whatever, one, two, you got a nice little buzz with those higher percentages. And that's
Oh yeah, like
probably the draw to IPA. If you like and you can get there, no problem.
what is it? We had me and Brad were drinking them at here right before we hopped into the the limo for your wedding. Um, they were like I want to say it was like a double hop like IPA.
Oh,
can't remember
like
what
the
they were
juice
called.
jolts or whatever. By
Yeah,
Southern Tier.
Juice Jolts. Yeah, Southern Tier Brewing Company. Great
Those
brewing
things are
company.
nuts. Those things are
Delicious.
scary.
Yeah. I don't know if I don't. I want to say Southern Tier is like near where I am, but I know
It's
I know
somewhere in New York.
Yeah, it's
I
it's
don't know
going
if Southern
down for
Tier is
me.
like an Allegheny thing or if it's like a Buffalo thing. I couldn't tell you, dude.
I could have sworn it was like going towards like Erie area, but I could be completely wrong. Either way, we have also Ellicott Brewing Company as well.
Yep.
Around here, they make some very good beers. They have this blueberry one that James actually put me onto.
I've had that one.
Yeah, actually pretty
Delicious.
good. I was gonna say it's very good. It's not like it's heavy on the blueberry flavor or too heavy on the beer flavor. It's like nice spot right in between. It's delicious.
They have a big brewery in Jamestown. I don't know if it's specifically
Mhm.
Jamestown itself, but it's one of its neighboring town that is along the lake over there, and they have a huge brewery down there. And you walk in, and it's just gigantic wrapping bar, and then of course the seating area for stuff like that for like their little restaurant side of it. But yeah, the blueberry one is nuts. And I think that goes for a lot of like the fruity beers. If you're gonna get like something that's a blueberry, I've had some strawberry beers that aren't bad. Um, I don't know if there's like any peach or anything like that, or I'm sure there's got to be, but
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm sure there's something out there because they have beer for everything. I mean, I think Southern Tier also does pumpkin. Um, if anyone's ever had
that
pumpkin,
makes sense.
it's literally a pumpkin beer. If you like pumpkin, like that's the beer for you. It's delicious. It's they brew it perfectly, and it's delicious. But I'm not a huge fan of pumpkin, especially not in my beer. But I will say that's also another beer that McLean just chugs. Like he can drink it any time of the year. Doesn't matter when, he will have pumpkin.
That's kind of gross. I was thinking when you were talking about pumpkin, I was thinking of the Sam Adams seasonal beer. Some of those are pretty good.
I was gonna say those are really good. Yeah. I haven't had too much of those, but I've had a couple of them, and they're actually very delicious.
Summer ale's good. The winter lager's good.
Right.
There's that one in the fall I was thinking of is probably like Sam Adams Thanksgiving edition, or I don't know what they call it, probably pumpkin pie or something weird. But I know for sure that they did something with pumpkin, and it was not the vibe.
Yeah, it's. I will say pumpkin is definitely like a better brewed pumpkin ale. I think it is.
Pumpkin ale.
It's very good. Like in regards to other beer that I've tried that have been pumpkin flavored or anything remotely close to like a fall flavor and such.
Yeah.
So if you do like pumpkin out there, I suggest looking for some pumpkin. Though I will say it's a seasonal beer, so they only release it around like I think August, September, and then for the rest of the fall season. McLean, however, him and his family stock up for the year.
Of course they do.
so they can have it year round. But you didn't hear that from me. But what is going on? Okay. For a moment,
were
I
good.
lost connection. Yeah,
We're hanging.
but
Too much beer talk. Our monitors are getting drunk.
I know.
It's sleep mode. But that's the
just
thing, man.
pass
Beer.
out.
And if I mean, thinking back to like if I want to close off with anything good to send to our viewers, go and try Modelo if you haven't. Get some limes, throw them in there. It's gonna be game changer.
I mean, if you haven't had Modelo, then I'm sorry.
Gotta rock it. Got to.
Yeah,
And then
you
the
have to
other
try
one,
it.
Narragansett, I've been very heavy on for the last couple months. It's a Rhode Island beer. It's light. I think they consider it a lager. Doesn't taste like a lager, but they're considering it one. Great beer. Awesome. Cold. I wouldn't say drink it any beer warm, but you could if you wanted to. It's one of those things. And then let's see. My last suggestion to try. Definitely not an IPA. Only because I can't think of a good one that I want people to be like, yeah, I'm gonna vouch for this IPA for decades. No, sorry. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'd go in another direction of a light beer. You know, it's one of those things. If you haven't tried a Natter Day, those are a nice step
Natter
away
Days
from
are
beer.
delicious. Yeah, they are good. Sometimes they switch up the flavors too. I think it's usually like strawberry lemonade or something like that.
Yep.
And then they switch it up to did like a pineapple one, which is really good.
Oh, haven't tried that one.
That was like, I think either last year or 2 years ago. They like switched it up for the summertime version of it. It's very good. Highly suggest keeping an eye out for Natter Days. They are very good, and they sit easy. It's just they're very sweet.
Yeah, they're kind of like drinking a twisted tea. Like it's not like a beer or anything. It's like a mixed alcohol seltzer type vibe.
Yeah.
What about
But I
you?
guess
What are you putting the people onto? You got to give them some recommendations.
Yeah, of course. Obviously drink Guinness. I know some people just can't drink Guinness. It's a very, I wouldn't say
It's
bitter
tough.
beer, but it is definitely
Guinness though. Irish car bombs. If you're not a fan of like the stouty taste of Guinness, have an Irish car bomb. It'll change your life.
Yeah, Irish car bombs are definitely a good way to ingest Guinness. But yeah, if you ever go out to a bar and you watch whoever behind the counter is pouring the Guinness, hopefully you get a good person doing it. But you wait for that foam to like settle up right to the top. It's beautiful. Every single time it's beautiful. You just see all the foam just kind of rests right up top. And it's so cool just watching. It looks like a fountain inside the actual drink. Really cool. Highly suggest you see someone actually pour a good Guinness. But Guinness is one. Yingling is great. I like Yingling because it's still brewed in Pennsylvania. It's one of the oldest beers in the U.S. One of them, and it's never gotten old for me. It's always been pretty good. It's like I said, it's a little heavier in comparison to some of these lighter beers that are going around for people who just want to get drunk and such. But Yingling has always been good. It's always tasted good. It's harder.
Classic.
It's definitely harder to skunk too. Surprisingly, if
Agreed.
no one knows what we mean by that, skunking is like the beers were cold before you left them out. They got warm and then you put them back in the fridge or something. That's when a beer goes skunk, where it literally smells and tastes like skunk. It's kind of disgusting. So remember that. If you ever buy cold beer, make sure to put it in the fridge. Don't leave it out unless it's cold outside. You can leave it outside if it's cold, but and then the last one I definitely would highly recommend going out and trying Red Stripe. Very good beer, very good Jamaican lager. Those are my top three. Guinness is number one because I'm Irish, but they're also expensive if you get cans. So Yingling is my next best option.
Yeah, Yingling's affordable. And as a third, actually, I thought about one. Something that we didn't talk about. A Kolsch. A good Kolsch goes a long way.
Yeah, the ruby red Kolsch's.
Ruby Red Kolsch. If you have not tried Ruby Red yet, go and try their Kolsch because it is gas. And their Ruby Red, the brand, then the Kolsch is a grapefruit Kolsch. And I know, grapefruit isn't like a very interesting flavor. It's not really that good. But in Kolsch form, to drink as a beer, insane.
It's delicious.
I'm not a huge grapefruit guy. I'm not drinking it normally, but it's good. It's good.
Say it definitely tastes good. Like as bitter as you think grapefruit is, it's delicious. Like
It's
just
good.
try it.
I think that's
have a
what
couple.
makes it good because beer is kind of bitter in its own in its own existence. So grapefruit just kind of aids into that.
I was gonna say it masks over like the, you know, some people just don't like the taste of beer. That's fine.
Yeah.
But like the Ruby Reds, ooh, the grapefruit covers all of that up.
Classic.
And for those that do enjoy the taste of beer, you can still taste it, just not as much. That's all.
Right. Absolutely.
But on that note, we have to wrap this up. So thank you all for coming out and taking a listen with us. Thanks for hanging out with us today. You're listening on Spotify. Check us out on YouTube. If you're listening on YouTube, check us out on Spotify. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the flippy flop. Peace.
Out for the I'm walking the bull, out for the out for the out for the out for the out for the
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.